Okay, today I'm going to take a look at this pre-war American Flyer train I've been working on. This is a 3308, and I think the engine is a 3307. 3308 was the number with the tender. And what this was a similar engine to the 420, which I actually have one of those also I'm going to be working on soon. But this was a bell ringer, and the thing with this train when I got it, all the wheels were bad, and they had suffered from the casting rot that that happens to these trains. The reverser was missing, which I made a new reverser piece here, which is it's a phenolic insulator block with 3 contacts on it to shift the flow of current through the armature. I couldn't get a real picture of what the original thing was, so I took my best guess as to how they would make it, and it works, and it works pretty good. This piece here I made, this was the little switch that turns the bell on and off, and I have to hook that in and wire it up. Now this train here, when I got the armature was bad, so what I've done, I've got some magnet wire of the correct grade, and I made a new commutator face to put on. So I'm gonna rewind this armature and put it in. In the meantime, what I've done here is I took I had an armature, and I don't even know what it was out of, and I suspect it was out of a Lionel pre-war engine, but it was real close to size. And what I did is machine the spindle for the armature down to the proper dimensions to fit into the American Flyer frame here and work with the American Flyer motor. And it works all right. The armature isn't perfect though, so although it runs okay. I also had to make a new brush plate because the brush holders were all loose and falling out. And when I did that, I put I don't know if you say, I put a brass bushing in there instead of just having the armature shaft bear against the brush thing with no bushing. And I also put a bushing, maybe kind of hard to see, on the other side, so the armature is supported on 2 brass bushings. The bell unit, the wire coming out the bottom was broken off flush, but there was just enough to catch some solder, and I was able to reattach a wire to it. So I've done that and epoxied it, so that's good. On this particular engine, the headlight ferrule was missing, so I machined one of these brass headlight ferrules up to replace that. The biggest thing on this train was the actuator for the bell ringer was missing. So what I did, I split the frame apart, the motor frame, and I made these. You can see these brass spacers, so it now screws together. Normally it was retained by these little plates here being staked together, but now I can take the frame apart, and the brush plate and this little brass piece here, which houses the reverser, was riveted to the frame, so I had to undo those rivets, and there was a little bit of futzing around with getting everything to work, but it's good now. So what I'm going to do is get it all wired up nice and give it a test run. Now, as far as this bell business goes, there's not a lot of information on these trains, especially the American Flyers. And I knew that the bell ringing mechanism was operated off the rear wheel, and there's a little pin. Let's see if I can spin this to show you. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little pin that projects out from the back side of the wheel, and what that does, that little silver cam-looking thing there, that's what they call a Geneva wheel or Geneva mechanism. And what it does is Every time that pin goes around, it engages one of those slots and indexes that wheel into a position. Now there's a radius part between the slots, and what that radius part does is every time the wheel turns around, let's see if I have it here. I don't know that you're going to be able to see this, but if you look carefully, there's a cutout in the back of the wheel, and what that does is it allows that Geneva cam to index, and then the back side of the wheel then fits into this groove here, and what that does is it locks the cam in position until the next time the indexing, so that the bell actuator doesn't it positions it correctly. And I'll see if I can get this to show you how this works. Every time that wheel comes around, it indexes that Geneva mechanism. Now see, it's locked into position, and when that pin comes around, again it indexes. This is a slick mechanism, and what a nice thing that is. Now I also didn't know how the actual cam was inside that actuated the bell mechanism, but the way this works, there's a brass plate in there. I don't know how good this is showing up. There's a brass plate in there, and it grounds the coil for the bell ringer, and every time it grounds, the coil fires and hits the bell. So what I did is I made a six tooth brass gear and made this assembly. And when I tried it the first time, the 6 teeth on the brass wheel were it rang too often and it wasn't good. So I cut every other tooth out. So when the train's running, the bell rings in a much better pace, and it's very distinct when it runs. So I was happy with that. Now, of course, after the fact of going through all these problems, I found a little bit of information on the internet, and apparently the Geneva wheel here on the original piece was a 5-slot Geneva wheel. So I have a 6-slot, so it just doesn't matter. These Geneva wheels, you can make within reason any number of slots, and they still function. But at least I got it that far and it's working. So what I'm going to do now is assemble this and get it wired good, and I'll come back and after I've got it wired up a bit, I'll continue on with this video. Okay, I've got the train all rewired. All the side rods and linkages are installed. The pony and the trailing trucks are installed. I've got the reverser all working now, and I've got also the switch installed that turns on and off the bell. So I'll give it a little test run, and then I'll show it running on the line. Now here you can see it running. I guess you can hear the bell ring. And if you look real carefully, you can see the piece inside going up and down, hitting the bell, the plunger. And then this here, now, if I move that lever, it turns off the bell. So the bell's off now. This lever here on the side is the manual reverser. That if now it's in reverse. You can actually see the Geneva mechanism working in the back there. That's a neat little mechanism. That's the nicest thing about this train. And I'll switch it back to forward. So in a couple seconds, I'll bring it up to the layout, and you can see it. Okay, I'm gonna give a shot at winding this American Flyer Armature I had that came with my 3307 bell ringer train, and this is a little fixture I made up to do it. Probably could do it by hand, but I think this will let me get a nice even tension and also be able to lay the wire into the armature laminations better, more evenly. rather than sitting there holding them by hand and twisting it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwind the armature and count the number of windings it was, and try and put back on the same amount. I just made this little, it's a little brass holding thing that grabs the armature. It's adjustable for different armatures. There, you loosen those. You can loosen these screws here, and you know, if the armature is wider or narrower, it'll do it. And then just this little support rail and a hand crank to do that. And then there's a little holder that holds the wire. It sits on a little spindle. It's provides a little tension. So I'll see how this works. So what I'm going to do is unwind this armature. Then I have a new commutator plate I made that presses on there because the other was damaged. So we'll see how this goes. It may or may not work, but I feel that it will work. So if it does, the armature I put in the train, I'm not happy with. I'm going to rewind that one too. So then I'll have a good spare armature. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, at this point, what I've got, I successfully rewound the commutator with same amount of windings of new wire, same gauge wire, and I've got my new. I had made a new commutator. I don't know if that's showing up well or not. I made a new commutator because the other one was cracked, so I've got that installed. I've got the armature in the frame, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brush assembly back on, and I'll try the thing out. Now this is the old armature that came off here, which is broken, and the segment is gone. One thing I want to talk about a little bit with the armature before I stick this thing all back together is commutator timing. And I don't know how this is going to come across, but if you look at this commutator positioning, if you look at the three poles of the armature, and you compare that to the position of the commutator, this thing turns this way. Okay, it turns counterclockwise. So what I've done is, and I tried several positions, but I've got the commutator advanced a little bit in the direction of rotation, and that seemed to run the best in the forward direction and not quite as good in the reverse direction, although it runs good. So I tried it in neutral positioning, and I tried it at retarded positioning. This seemed to work the best here, and since the train's going to be going forward mostly anyhow, I left it at that, and I think that's sort of the preferred position anyhow. All the information I could come up with on rewinding motors and stuff, so this worked good. I have 65 turns of this magnet wire on each pole, and I tried to be pretty careful about that. And when I put my ohm meter from segment to segment, I got a very almost an exact reading in ohms. It was about 0.8 ohms between the segments, so I felt like that was good. Okay, I've got this all wired up now, and it's hooked up to my little test transformer. It just runs nice forward. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to throw it up on the track and take a little video of it running around the layout in a couple minutes. Okay, I've got the newly rewound armature into the motor frame, and it's all put back together, and I'm going to send it around the track a couple times so you can see how it runs. Now it's in reverse now, so actually I'll send it around in reverse. Now I'll switch it over to forward here. Okay, well, as you can see by my my bloopers there, it's got plenty of speed, and it's got nice low speed performance, and it runs real smooth. It runs cool. I ran it for 15 minutes. It didn't even get warm, so I'm real happy with the way this works. So the next step is I'll put it back into the engine shell and get all the linkages hooked up in the bell, and I'll run it again. Okay, I've got this engine all back together, and I'm going to send it around for a test run in a second. And I just want to make a couple comments about this engine and this engine, which are very similar. And this first engine is one I've been working on, which is the bell ringer, and it's a 3307. It was offered in 1932 and 1933, and it's what American Flyer called a Type 7 boiler. And this has the manual reverse and the bell ringing feature. It also has kind of a full complement of side rods. Now this engine here, from my research, it was offered in 1939, and this would have been a 422 with the tender, and the engine itself is a 420. Now this is also a Type 7 boiler casting. Now when I got this engine, it was missing all the side rods, was missing the pony and trailing trucks and the headlight bezel, so I made all those pieces. And this engine, the motor is somewhat different than the 3307 there, but it's got electronic reversing, like a Lionel. It's a 3-position deal, and this engine has, in my opinion, it has the ugliest trailing truck I ever saw in my life. It looks like it's too long for the engine. It's just I don't know. That's how it was. So that's the way it went on. So both engines run great. In a couple seconds, I'm going to hook up a load of cars to this and see how it runs. Okay, I've got this engine completely back together, all wired up, and I'm going to send it around without a load on it. Then I'm going to stop and hook up some cars to it and send it around again. Okay, this is the 420, which is the similar engine, and this, although it doesn't have a bell ringing feature, it has a nice forward reverse capability that's you can turn it on and off.